When they think they can control you, but you control your mind, they think they can control you because they think they can control your thoughts. That if they repeat something often enough, doubt, fear, judgment, you'll begin to believe it. And for most people, it works. That's how influence is built, not through force, but through repetition. If they can shape what you think about, they can shape what you become. But the moment you take full authority over your mind, everything changes. You stop being a product of your environment and start becoming a product of your focus. Because here's the unshakable truth. You become what you think about most. That's not just philosophy. It's a law of life. Your thoughts are the seeds, and your reality is the harvest. If your mind is consumed by fear, you'll live in hesitation. If it's filled with scarcity, you'll settle for less. But if your mind is filled with purpose, vision, discipline, there's no limit to who you can become. That's what they fear most, not your rebellion, not your anger, but your clarity, because once your thoughts are aligned with your values, your vision, and your identity, you become unshakable. You start choosing your path, your pace, your priorities. You no longer absorb the noise around you because you've tuned into a higher frequency within you. That's when real control slips through their fingers, because your mind is no longer available for rent. You're not thinking like they want you to think. You're thinking independently, deliberately, consciously, and that makes you unstoppable. The outside world can shake, but the inside world remains still. They may try to distract you through criticism, chaos, or comfort, but it doesn't work anymore, because now you understand that whatever occupies your mind is what shapes your life, and you've decided that your mind will be a space of strength, not submission. Of focus, not fear, of power, not permission, and yes, it takes discipline, it takes awareness, it takes the courage to question everything you've been told, and replace it with what you've chosen to believe. But once you do, they lose their grip, not because the world becomes easier, but because your inner world becomes stronger. Thoughts are not small things, they are the architects of your future, and once you take back the blueprint, no one else can design your life for you. So when they think they can control you, let them talk, let them try, let them underestimate, because while they speak, you are thinking, while they plot, you are preparing, and while they try to sway your mind, you are mastering it. And that is the beginning of all true freedom, not when the noise stops, but when you rise above it. You become what you think about, and when you begin to think with clarity, purpose, and truth, they no longer control you. You do, and that is where your true power begins. Conformity is the enemy of growth. They think they can control you because the system taught them that control comes from pressure, and pressure makes most people conform. Say the right thing, follow the crowd, stay within the lines. That's the path laid out. That's what feels safe. And when you begin to step outside that line, when you decide to live on your own terms, the pressure increases. Not because you're wrong, but because you're different, and difference threatens control. Conformity is comfortable for them. It's predictable, it's manageable, it keeps everyone in familiar boxes. But growth doesn't happen in the boxes. It happens when you leave them behind, when you start questioning the rules, the roles, the routines. That's when growth begins. And that's exactly when their control begins to fade. Because people can only hold power over you if you keep playing by the rules they've given you. But what happens when you stop asking for permission? What happens when you stop looking for validation? What happens when you decide to be the one who writes the rules for your own life? Everything changes. The world around you may stay the same, but you begin to evolve. And that evolution makes you harder to manage, harder to mold, harder to predict. They may call it rebellion, they may call it arrogance, but it's neither. It's authenticity. It's the courage to live in alignment with who you really are, not who others want you to be. You weren't made to be a copy of someone else's version of success. You weren't born to follow every script handed to you. You were meant to become fully, freely, fearlessly, and the moment you begin to own that, you break the chains of conformity. Growth demands that you get uncomfortable. It asks you to stretch, to stumble, to risk being misunderstood. And yes, that makes you stand out. But standing out isn't a weakness. It's a signal that you are no longer manageable in the old ways. a signal that your spirit is no longer contained by shallow expectations, and the people who once thought they could control you, they begin to realize that you're no longer within reach, not because you're distant, but because you've outgrown the roles they wanted you to play. Growth is not loud, but it is noticeable. It's in your posture, it's in your boundaries, it's in your refusal to shrink for the sake of keeping others comfortable, so when they think they can control you, what they're really counting on is your compliance. And when you no longer offer that, when you choose truth over fitting in, you become powerful in a way they can't define. You no longer need their script, their schedule, or their approval. You're not rebellious for the sake of noise. You're intentional for the sake of growth. And that is the most dangerous kind of freedom there is, not the freedom to break the rules, but the freedom to outgrow them. That's when they truly lose control, because you've risen beyond their reach. Circumstances don't define you. Your response to them does. They may believe they have control over you because they control the situation, the job, the rules, the timing, the resources, and on the surface, maybe they do. But what they can't control, what they will never own, is your response, because the greatest freedom you'll ever have isn't in changing the world around you. It's in mastering how you show up inside of it. Circumstances may be loud, unfair, or even overwhelming, but your response, that's where your power lies. People will underestimate that. They'll mistake your silence for surrender. They'll see your patience as weakness. They'll confuse your strategy for hesitation. But you know something they don't. You are choosing, not reacting, choosing, and that choice is everything. That's the space where transformation happens. That's where real strength is born. It's not about avoiding the fire, it's about deciding who you'll be inside it, and that decision cannot be taken from you. They can create pressure, throw obstacles, even try to control the narrative, but the outcome is never fully theirs. It's yours, because your response shapes your reality. You may not have chosen the challenge, but you absolutely choose the meaning you assign to it. You choose whether it becomes a limit or a lesson, a wall or a window. And that choice is what defines you, not the moment, not the people, not the pressure. You, always you. That's why the people who try to control you often create chaos, because they want you too distracted to realize the power you already hold. They want you reactive, emotional, impulsive, because they know that's when you're easiest to manipulate. But when you stay centered, when you pause instead of panic, when you choose perspective over panic, they lose their grip. And that's when the shift begins. You become unshakable not because life gets easier, but because you get stronger, because you stop letting the moment define you. You start defining the moment. That kind of control, the internal kind, is rare. It's powerful, it's invisible to most, but undeniable in its results. And the more you live from that place, the more you realize it was never about avoiding struggle. It was about becoming someone who doesn't break under it, who bends maybe but never bows, who listens but never loses themselves. When they think they can control you, let them underestimate you, because while they focus on the surface, you're strengthening the core. While they play the game, you're mastering the mind, and that quiet discipline, that response over reaction, that calm in the storm, that is what makes you unstoppable. You don't need to shout it. You don't need to prove it. Just keep choosing growth, choosing strength, choosing stillness, because in the end, the world may not always be in your hands, but your response always is, and that, more than anything else, is what makes you truly free. The key to personal freedom is purpose. Control only works on those who haven't discovered their purpose. The moment you know why you wake up, what you stand for, and where you're going, their grip starts to loosen. Purpose is not noise, it's clarity. It doesn't scream to be seen. It moves with quiet certainty, and those who want to control you, whether through pressure, guilt, manipulation, or fear, can't stand that kind of certainty, because purpose makes you immune to distraction. It gives you direction. It gives you identity that doesn't bend to approval or crumble under rejection. You're driven by purpose. You stop being easy to influence. You stop being available for everything and everyone. You're no longer a mirror reflecting what they want to see. You become a window showing them what's possible when someone truly lives with intention. They may still try to label you, box you in, pull your strings, but purpose makes you untouchable in a way power never can. It's not arrogance, it's alignment. When you are aligned with something deeper than applause or validation, no external force can truly sway you. The ones who try to control you often live without purpose themselves. That's why they try to assign one to you. But you are not here to live out someone else's plan. You are not a placeholder in someone else's narrative. You are here to write your own story with full authorship, and the pen is purpose. When you discover it, you begin living differently. You stop chasing things that don't speak to your soul. You stop needing to prove yourself in rooms that were never meant to hold you, and the best part, you become free, not because the world changes, but because your relationship to it does. Your time becomes sacred. Your energy becomes focused. Your decisions stop being reactive and start becoming reflective of your deepest values. You know where you're going, so you no longer fear the detours. You have a compass, not just a map. And people who want control don't know what to do with someone who doesn't panic in uncertainty. Because purpose anchors you. It gives you something bigger than their opinions, louder than their doubts, stronger than their resistance. You begin to walk with quiet confidence, and your steps speak for themselves. They might try to keep you small, delay your progress, make you question yourself. But none of it sticks when you're being pulled by something greater. You're not chasing fame. You're not seeking approval. You're building something eternal inside of you. That is where real freedom begins, not in defiance, but in clarity, not in rebellion, but in alignment. So when they think they can't control you, let them think, because once you know your purpose, they can no longer keep you lost. You are no longer confused. You are no longer easily swayed. You are not available for control. You are driven by something far more powerful. You are driven by purpose. Success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. Success isn't about what others expect from you. It's about becoming who you are meant to be. That's the truth most people miss when they try to control you. They measure success with rules they didn't write, trophies they didn't earn, and roles that feel comfortable to them, not to you. But real success isn't loud. It doesn't need a stage or applause. It is, at its core, the quiet, unshakable realization that you are becoming better, stronger, clearer, every single day, on your own terms. When you are progressively realizing a worthy ideal, you are free. Not free from responsibility, not free from challenge, but free in the truest sense, free to move, to think, to evolve. That kind of growth scares those who want to control you, because they rely on your doubt to maintain their influence. They need you unsure of your path so they can offer you one. They need you second-guessing your power so they can pretend to lead. But when you know what your ideal is, when you have defined it for yourself, it doesn't matter what they think you should be. You stop chasing their approval and start building your purpose. And that's when everything changes. You become immune to shallow praise and resistant to empty criticism. You stop being reactive and start being intentional. It doesn't matter if you're not at the finish line yet. What matters is that you're moving, not drifting, not hesitating, but deliberately becoming. That kind of progress is unshakable. It doesn't need permission. It doesn't need a map approved by others, and that terrifies anyone who thought they could control you by limiting your vision. They may try to convince you that your dream is too big, too unrealistic, too different, but that's only because they've never dared to dream for themselves. They confuse safety with success, comfort with confidence, and predictability with peace. But you know better. You know success isn't a place. It's a direction. It's a commitment. And every day you take one more step toward your ideal, you become less controlled by outside forces and more led by your own convictions. So when they think they can control you, let them think. Let them underestimate. Let them whisper. You don't need to fight for their understanding. You need only to walk your path, focused, grounded, and bold, because the most powerful statement you can ever make is not in arguing back, it's in becoming undeniable, not loud, not reckless, just undeniable. And that happens when you're no longer driven by fear or by force, but by purpose. That's what makes you unshakable, that's what makes you free, and that's when they realize, maybe too late, that they never had control, they only had your attention, and now even that is yours.